So I figured with the summer coming up, I want to get some new sunglasses, but I want to get like the typical black sunglasses because I've been there, done that. So I decided to shop around and get something a little more exquisite. And that's these fancy poet sunglasses here. So you put them on there and I guess you look like they call like a beatnik or a poet there. Kind of looks like more like a criminal mastermind. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, it looks like the Boo Birds get their way. Devin Williams yanked out as the Yankees closer after another ninth inning meltdown from him. So we'll kind of look at that whole situation and see if there's any chance he can actually get his job back. But of course, moving forward now, it looks like Luke Weaver will be the Yankees closer. So we'll look at that situation also, and some good news for the Yankees in terms of Jazz. Looks like he will avoid that one-game suspension. To the surprise of many, including myself, checking that situation. And of course, looking at DJ LeMahieu, kind of someone I've written off. We've kind of all written him off, and we see Mays in the minors, whatever he comes, but looks like he's been kind of tearing it up a little bit, so we'll shine a little positive light on DJ LeMahieu. So if you're a fan of the machine, if you're a fan of DJ LeMahieu, maybe this will be the episode for you. But before we get started, you get a little homework assignment. There's the audio podcast version of the show, so as much as you'd like to see me, you want to get takes soon, you want to get takes more frequently, wherever you get your favorite podcast, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. And if you happen to be watching right now on either YouTube or television, you want to make sure you also subscribe to the YouTube version, the visual version of the show. So if you happen to be on YouTube right now, make sure you subscribe there. And if you're watching on TV, go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe there as well. Do all your homework. So Aaron Boone and the Yankees make the move to finally yank Devin Williams out of the closer role. And this came over his latest blow up because that was the Friday opening game against the Toronto Blue Jays. Had a 4-2 lead there, kind of a marquee rocking chair save, you would say there, and blows the game. And it's a game the Yankees end up losing. And it's just, at this point, it's just enough. I mean, we've seen this guy blow up too much. Like, I've been, proposing that you give him as much time as needed there, but I think the fact that it was such a bad, just a bad, he couldn't even record one out of the game there, and he actually ended up losing the game for the Yankees, and the fans were going crazy and booing there. I guess they finally had to make the move to yank him out of the ninth inning role there, and and the season's about 1 month in there, and this guy's already had major blow-ups, and you look at the opening, this opening day there. Now, yes, he got out of it, but it was a bases loaded situation where he almost blew that game. Okay, he holds on, and the Yankees win that game 4-3. But we see some other big blow-ups to him. That was the Detroit game. Came in with a 4-run lead. Again, it was a non-safe situation, but he almost blew that game, and Tim Hill had to come in to get the last out there. But again, he almost blew that game. Then you look at the Tampa game there, where he had a 6-4 lead. The Yankees going into the ninth inning. They tack on 2 more runs. They give him an 8-4 lead, a big cushion. Okay, he doesn't lose the game there, but he blows a 4-run lead. So that's a blow-up. And then finally, the latest blow-up was the Toronto game there where, now, funny enough, technically, that on paper, that was his first blown save on paper there because, again, some of the other big blow-ups, he came in with 4-run leads there. So on paper, it was only his first blown save. But, of course, it was just too much. Yeah, it's too often there, and it's just something's wrong with the guy there. So I think all things being considered, Boone finally had to make the move. So they took Devin Williams out of the close role, and now go to Luke Weaver in the ninth inning there moving forward. So Devin Williams, again, it's just hard to figure out what's wrong with the guy. Again, he's supposed to be an elite closer. He comes here, and he just, has not been good at all. Yeah, he does have a couple of saves there, but again, everything has been a struggle with him. And even Boone, said that there's pretty much he's been behind, really, in April in terms of all the counts are there. It always seems like he's struggling. He can't put guys away. His stuff doesn't look exceptional there. So it's just hard to figure, is this a mental thing? Is this a physical thing? Or is he just out of whack right now and just needs to find it there? So, so I guess, that what they're going to do now is just kind of shift him into what they call, I guess, the lower leverage situation. So maybe coming in the 6th, 7th inning, maybe less pressure, give him an opportunity to work on things and hope he could, sort of quote, find it. And then, once he's kind of, dependable again, then maybe you could insert him back into the ninth inning. But again, until then, Luke Weaver will get the ball for the Yankees in the ninth inning. So you look at his numbers again, they're terrible. And again, this is supposed to be an elite closer. Right now, he's 0-2, an ERA of 10. I mean, that's just unfathomable there in 11 games. And yes, he does have the 4 saves. Then he has saved a couple of games for the Yankees there, but everything's been a struggle there. And I even said it here on the show as well as the audio podcast. There's something that looks wrong with him. Like, he doesn't look, his stuff is like there. Like, you look at the fastball, it's 94, 95, okay. The so-called airbender, the changeup is about 81, 82. That's where it should be. But there's nothing really special about it. And you just see opposing hitters. Either they're fouling his pitches off, they're laying off the tough stuff, and then maybe either they get a walk or they get a good good piece to hit there. So, there's something wrong with the guy, because if you look at a lot of these, closers, the elite closers, when they come in, they usually they throw like maybe 10 to 14 pitches, they blow the other guys away, and it almost leaves you, sometimes you feel sorry for the other hitters because they don't understand the chance. You don't really see that with Devin Williams. Like, nothing just seems like he's blowing these guys away. Everything with him is a struggle. I mean, look at when some of these, someone comes on like a Aroldis Chapman when he was in his heyday. I mean, again, the other opposing hitters didn't have a chance against someone like that, or when Mariano Rivera is coming with the cutter, then just get a couple of easy ground outs and maybe a strikeout. Then again, it looked like the opposing hitters never had a chance. You just don't see that with Devin Williams there. So again, that's why I point to maybe it's something physical. Remember he lost a chunk of last year to a back injury. Yeah, he did come back there, but again, is it something with that? Is it a mental thing? Again, give up that big 3-run home run to Pete Alonso in the playoffs last season, and and since that moment has been the same. And I've been drawing the comparisons. I've done this a few times with Mark Wahlers. You look at Mark Wahlers versus Jim Leyritz. Jim Leyritz in the Game 4 of the World Series took him deep, and after that, Mark Wahlers was never the same pitcher again. Yeah, he could still throw 100 miles per hour, but after that situation, he was not an elite closer anymore, so it got into his head there. Or is this sort of a situation where he's just out of whack? I've done I've kind of mentioned before, on the audio podcast. Look back a couple of seasons ago when the Major League Baseball was cracking down on the spider tack and some of the substances that these pitchers use there, and of course the whole thing with Garrett Cole, he couldn't use the spider tack anymore. If you remember, midway during that season, he had a stretch here for a month or two where he was terrible. The velocity there, but he was getting clocked around. They were looking at the spin rate on his slider there, wasn't the same. His stuff was looking terrible there, and everyone was like wondering what's wrong with him. Is he hurt? Is it because he can't use the spider tack or the grip anymore? And then is that the reason why he was always successful? It took Cole a while there. He finally straightened himself out and then became back to an elite level there. So it could be a situation like that where he just his stuff is there. It's just he has kind of to just find it, put it all together there. So kind of mysterious what the whole thing is there, but obviously you just see the situation. You just can't handle the ninth inning for whatever reason right now, and you just cannot have him of course, all of baseball, especially in New York, pitching for the Yankees, you can't blow games. It's a non-starter there. Not just because it's the Yankees and the expectations, but this is the franchise that had Mariano Rivera, probably the greatest closer of all time, and you're always going to compare that. Okay, we know no one is Mariano there, but you can't be blowing games. And not that he's blowing games, there's just so many, and it's just a short amount of time. Again, only about 1 month into this season, and yeah, he has the one blown save on paper, but he's also been torched 4 or 5 times already in 1 month. So this is not normal. Something's wrong with the guy. So it was the right move to take him out there. Again, I was preaching, give him as much time as you need to find it there, but you get to a certain point where you just can't be losing games like that. And again, you come into a 4-2 lead at home there, and you can't even record 1 out. I can see maybe if you got a couple of outs and then you had a little bit bad luck, a bloop and a blast, that happens, but he couldn't even record 1 out there. So something's wrong with the guy. And if you want to look at the stuff I mentioned before, it's just something about it's not exceptional. Again, before they took him out, before they officially made the switch, you look at opposing hitters against his four-seam fastball, we're hitting .462. So again, opposing hitters almost hitting .500 against his four-seam fastball. So again, nothing special there. And his off-speed pitch, his quote-unquote airbender, is supposed to be his out pitch, his money pitch there. Opposing hitters hitting .273. So almost hitting .300 against his best pitch there. So something's wrong with this guy where it's just like his stuff isn't really just, it's not exceptional getting opposing hitters down. Now, Boone, I don't know if he's saying it because he's nice, he's the manager. He said his mechanics are good, it's there to be elite. He just kind of, again, has to be performing better there. So I don't know what Boone sees differently than others. Obviously, he's right the manager, he's right there, he knows the stuff there, but obviously something wrong with the guy where he just can't put away hitters there. So they're going to have to figure that, Now, I just think, if they can get him right, I think the best thing for the Yankees, though, is for him to be the closer if he could find himself out. I've been saying this before, once the Yankees, should get to the playoffs there, I think the best formula for them for the win, especially these games late inning games, is have Luke Weaver pitch 2 innings. That would be the 7th and 8th, and then have Devin Williams close the 9th. I think that's the Yankees' best chance to be successful in the postseason there, because then what you do now, and you're cutting it down to a 6-inning game, again, if you have that close. But you can't do that unless Devin Williams is elite. Right now, he's not elite, so you got to have to let him try to find that, work on that, get to elite, and then maybe hopefully then, and only then, he could be back as a closer. And that's what Boone said. He wants to see a string of quality outings in a row before they would consider putting him back in the 9th inning. And I think they should do that, because I just think that's the Yankees' best way moving forward. Once they get to the postseason, just have an elite bullpen like what we saw with the Dodgers last season. The Dodgers, they had a lot of injuries. They didn't have the greatest of starting rotations, but they just had an elite bullpen of this 5 guys that could come out and pretty much shut the game now. So I think that's what Brian Cashman is kind of trying to mimic that. And again, if you get some other guys, such as Fernando Cruz, who's really coming on, and we kind of highlighted him on the last episode here. then maybe, or Loiza come back, then you're really limiting to maybe like a 5-inning game there. So you're not really asking too much from your starter there. So, but again, none of that works unless you got Devin Williams, at the top of his game. So, again, the whole thing's kind of weird, kind of bizarre, and Devin Williams is pitching for a contract. I mean, he's going to be a free agent after this season, so you'd think he'd want to be like on top of his game, have an A+ type season, just to get a big contract there. But again, right now this doesn't seem that's happening, and maybe that's another thing. Maybe it's the pressure of that to perform well, just so maybe you get a big contract out of this. Kind of mysteriously, but hopefully he could straighten himself out. Now, the only good news, I say, at least to this point there, his first assignment after being yanked out of the closer role was the opening game in the Baltimore series. He had a clean inning, including a strikeout. I know, shocking. He had a strikeout there. Didn't give up any runs there, so I don't know, did he figure it out somehow? We don't know like that, but at least, his first outing since being yanked out of the closer role didn't really pout or make a big deal about it. He at least had a clean inning, including a strikeout there, so maybe he's on the road to recovery. We'll wait and see. And now, if you're a Yankee fan, you're thinking in the offseason, oh man, we traded Nestor Cortes to get this guy, and he's a waste, he's a bum, and all this stuff there. And you figure maybe Nestor Cortes is doing good in Milwaukee, and which would really hurt, but that's not exactly the case there. So if you wanted to check in on Nestor in case you weren't paying attention to him anymore, he's actually on this 60-day IL right now. He has a right flexor strain in his left elbow. So again, yet another elbow injury for him, which is kind of why I think the Yankees were kind of just ready to move on with him. Again, we liked Nestor; he was a good guy and everything, but obviously a lot of them with either being hurt or just poor performances. I think it was time for the Yankees to move on from Nestor. So even though right now, yeah, Devin Williams looks terrible there, then you might think that's a terrible trade. But I think at the time, you got to consider you had no idea Devin Williams is going to be like this. You're not going to get this version of Devin Williams. So you would have to still say, though, that Brian Cashman did make the right move to trade Nestor Cortes to get this guy. But again, Nestor Cortes is not doing much in Milwaukee right now. And again, he's on the 60-day IL. And if you want to just look at his stats right now, he's pitched a total of 8 innings, a whole 8 innings, with a 1-1 record and a 9 ERA. So Nestor Cortes is not exactly doing some great things in Milwaukee anymore. So right now you can say it's a wash because Devin Williams is not performing well, and Nestor Cortes not even pitching right now for Milwaukee there. So Yankees didn't really lose anything by trading Nestor Cortes away. So overall, if you want to compare the whole situation, the Yankees still got the better end of the deal because at least Devin Williams is performing and pitching. Obviously, he's not doing well, but again, as long as he's not hurt there, at least there's more of a higher ceiling for him to have an impact on the Yankees this season versus what Nestor Cortes could do for the Milwaukee Brewers there. And for the Yankee bullpen, I think it should be okay. Again, they're getting some pieces back. Loiza, who will checking in with him a little bit later this episode, working his way back. We see what Fernando Cruz has been doing. He's just been absolutely fabulous this season. We highlighted him the last episode there. And you got some other guys, so like Jake Cousins working his way back, as well as Scott Efros. So again, I think the Yankee overall, even if it got to move Devin Williams, into a different different role right now a little bit until he kind of gets his head straight. Still, I think the bullpen is still a strength for the Yankees. Luke Weaver's just been fabulous, whether it's coming out in a non-safe situation or a safe situation. He hasn't really skipped a beat there. So overall, I think it's okay for the Yankees there. But again, I think the Yankees will be at their best, should be at their best, if Devin Williams could sort of get it together and be the closer again for the Yankees. So as Devin Williams is placed in the bad boy corner with the dunce cap on, the Yankees will get a little shot in the arm, so to speak, with Jonathan Loiza working his way back. So now, in case you didn't know, we actually already reported to a rehab assignment. That was on April 26th, reporting to Single A. So far, the reports he's been looking good. And now the plan for him to move forward is to pitch one more time. That's to be scheduled on April 30th. And if that all goes well, the Yankees will promote him to either AA or AAA. Might as well put him in AAA. What's the difference at that point there? And then from there, they'll make an evaluation when he can rejoin the team. And Aaron Boone put it that he wants to see back-to-back performances from him. Of course, obviously, you're going to have games where you have to pitch 2 games in a row and see if he can pitch well for that and recover there, not be injured, have no show fatigue like that. And then figure that at that point, he'll be ready for the major leagues. And sticking with the Yankee bullpen, in case you missed it, I know you've been waiting for this one. We all have been holding our breath, but Tyler Matzik finally made his debut. That was also during the Blue Jay series. Again, the Blue Jay series that Devin Williams lost his job in. Now, Tyler Matzik came in for an in there. Obviously, showed some rust there, got knocked around a little bit. We'll just look at his line real quickly. Again, it's 1 outing. We're not going to beat the guy up, but obviously 1 inning. Did surrender 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, but he did get 1 strikeout. Now, the Yankees right now have a unique situation where they have 3 lefties in the pen. Of course, you add with Ryan Yarbrough, who they signed just started the season. Tim Hill is kind of the de facto main lefty of the Yankee bullpen, and now they added Mazik there. So the Yankees right now have 3 lefties in the pen. Mazik, again, he used to be an elite closer with the Braves a few years ago. Last few years, not that good. He's kind of been on the struggling side, and again, approaching the wrong side of the mid-30s there. So I don't know how long they're going to ride this guy out here, but again, it is a unique situation to have 3 lefties in the pen. Now, even with the struggles of Devin Williams in the bullpen, they really overall you see the Yankees, the bullpen is a strain for them. The weakness, though, the Achilles heels of this team so far has been the starting rotation, really getting length. And of course, you look at the guys, after Rendon and Max Fried there, again, the Yankee starting rotation a little bit thin there. Now, it did get a little boost with the return of Clark Schmidt there. Now, he hasn't been gangbusters overall, and we'll kind of look at his numbers, at least at this point right now, with a 0-1 record. ERA of 5.52, not really good there. That's way over 4, which is inexcusable, and a WHIP of 1.43. And if you just look, at least at this point, he had 3 outings. Of course, the first one against the Royals, he actually went a little longer than I thought he would. He actually went 5 2/3 innings, only gave up 3 earned runs there. The bad games against the Cleveland Guardians just got rocked there. Only 4 innings and gave up 5 earned runs. That's a game the Yankees lost. But the good news is that his latest start, at least up to this point, was probably his best one, and that was the nightcap of the day-night doubleheader against the Blue Jays there. We went 5 innings, only gave up 1 earned run, and that was from a home run, so it's just maybe 1 bad pitch. Did have 4 walks in the game, but again, that's probably his best outing in his last, and he's going to have to step it up a little bit because, again, if you just look at the rest of this Yankee starting rotation, with Will Warren, you're not getting too much. Like, once in a while he goes 5 innings, but you're seeing a lot of short outings with him. Same thing with kind of Carrasco a little bit. Only gives like 4 innings here, 3 innings there. So, again, it has to be Clark Schmidt to step up there and give the Yankees a little bit more length because you can't keep tapping into the bullpen too early. And even with the return of Luis Gil comes to the starting rotation. Again, he began his rehab assignment on April 27th, at least with a throwing program. Again, we don't know exactly when he's going to come back there, so you do have him returning to the starting rotation. But still, there's still going to probably be the need for the Yankees to go after a big arm. And, of course, the name out there is called Sandy Alcantara from the Marlins. That's probably the name that, at least not only the Yankees, but other teams are going to be going for once we come to the trade deadline. Again, the Yankees probably have to add a big arm to this rotation because as great as Max Fried has been, Rendon a little bit on the better on the upside, but you still have a lot of question marks. Yes, Luis Gil coming back, but how is he going to be? I mean, you don't really know until he's back and performing well. And, of course, again, the rest of the Yankees starting rotation, a little bit thin there. Again, we like Schmidt. He's okay. But, again, you don't see him as like a top-flight, elite type of starting pitcher there that you want to, pitch a big postseason game, even though, he did okay-ish last season in the postseason run. But Alcantara there, that's going to be the big prize. Now, according to ESPN's David Schoenfield, again, he's kind of projecting out there the Yankees will probably have to trade one of the blue chip pieces there in the minors, and one of them being Ben Hess there, the 22-year-old. So I figured, man, let's do a little tail of the tape of the two there. Now, for Alcantara right now, not exactly lighting it up. Right now, with 5 games started, a 2-2 record, but a very high ERA right now, 6.56. So nowhere close to elite there, and only has 17 strikeouts in 23rd and 1 inning pitch there. So he's averaging less than a strikeout per inning again. So that's not really what you call elite type of stuff. Very early on in the season, so I'm not going to go crazy over that. Now, money-wise, a little bit. Now, it's not like one of these guys that are making peanuts, which would also cost the Yankees to give up a lot of prospects. He actually, he is making some decent money there, coins. So right now, he's under a 5-year, $56 million deal. So he's signed through 2026. So if the Yankees do end up getting him, not only would you have him for the rest of this season, but he's signed for next season as well, and there's an option for 2027. So again, the Yankees, when a player's making some money there, it gives the other team the leverage to say, hey, look, I have to take on this contract there. I'm not going to give you all these pieces you want. Versus when you get someone who's like making absolute peanuts there, then the other team could hold you, hold you to give up more prospects. So it's like not only are you getting an elite player, but he's making basically no money there. So so at least the Yankees will have that leverage where they may have to give up too much there. But this gentleman again from ESPN predicts, he's at least projecting that they would have to give up Ben Hess, who's pitching right now in Single A. And if you want to look at his numbers, his actually numbers are more impressive than Alcantara. But of course, it's in Single A there, so I'm not going to go too crazy over it. But right now, 3 games started, a 1-1 record, but very good ERA of 3.38, and a more impressive 22 strikeouts in only 13.1 innings. So this guy's averaging almost 2 strikeouts per inning, which is what you call elite type of stuff there. So again, with these guys in the minors, you just never know how they're going to work out there. So again, if the Yankees, obviously for the season, they're going to have to bring in a big arm. This guy, Alcantara, would probably, would serve the purpose there. But again, who we actually have to give up, I don't know. I'm always saying, look, if you know someone's in Single A doing well, like you just don't know how these guys are going to pan out. So I always say, make the move if you can make the move. And if the guy turns out to be great somewhere else, hey, you got to live with it there. Because he's going to look at this is a win now team. You're paying a lot of guys to win now. You're paying Judge a boatload of money, paying Max Fried a boatload of money. You're paying Carlos Rendon a boatload of money, paying Giancarlo Stanton a boatload of money, and you're paying a boatload of money Garrett Cole, who's not even pitching this season as there. So you have to win now. So if it takes a guy like that to get a big arm in here, you got to do it. And switching to the offensive side of the ball and talking about some rehab, because we have to look at DJ LeMahieu. Again, he started his rehab assignment already in AA. Now, the plan for him is during the week of April 28th to be promoted to AAA. And obviously, after some work there, then finally he too will be able to join the major league team there and provide the Yankees with a right-handed bat, which kind of been saying about the Yankees. They've been saying they complained like they're a little too left-handed there. So obviously, DJ LeMahieu with a right-handed bat would straighten that out a little bit. Of course, and somewhere down the road, we'll get Giancarlo Stanton. Really no timetable on him to participate in games. During the Cleveland series there, he did take some swings there, so look, he's swinging the bat. But as I mentioned before, he still has that pain he had last season, but he puts it as manageable. So I guess, we will see him at some time, but of course we'll see DJ much sooner. But to the surprise of many, including myself, DJ actually been ripping it up a little bit there in AA. Actually even hit a home run in his first game there, which I was shocked to hear. And if you want to look at his numbers there, now again, this is AA. This is not the best, elite type of pitching you're facing there, but still quite impressive. Batting average-wise, 600. So the guy's hitting 600 there in 4 games, 6 hits, 1 home run, 3 runs scored, 3 RBIs, and a very judging OPS of 1.60 there. So seems like, he's got the stroke going there, so I don't know, is that because he's only hitting in the minors there, and then once he comes up to the majors, he'll struggle. Again, he's someone who last season hit 204 there, so again, we don't know if it was just an age thing, was it a physical hurt thing, an ailment thing, we don't know, but at least this version right now of DJ LeMahieu looks like he's crushing the ball there, so hopefully we get that version, and of course, he's playing some third base in the minors, and that's kind of, once he comes to the Yankees, that's probably where they're going to put him at mainly. He might get a little bit of first base once in a while, just give Goldschmidt a day off there, but he's primarily going to be third baseman for the Yankees there, and we'll just see how it goes. We've been waiting for the DJ LeMahieu to come back since like 2021, really, maybe in 2020. So again, the last several years have not been good for him. Again, some injuries, some poor performances. Not look like the same guy who originally came to the Yankees there. Now, like at age 36, is he going to have some sort of renaissance, like the natural there, Roy Hobbs? I'm not sure like that, but he probably can't be any worse than he was last season, hitting 204. So even if you get him to hit about 250 there, I think you settle for that. And DJ LeMahieu's potential partner in crime in terms of turning double play, Jazz Chisholm Jr., looks like he will avoid that 1-game suspension, which to the surprise of many there. Now, supposedly there's going to be a meeting between Jazz, his agent, and Major League Baseball to kind of hash out, and obviously he appealed the suspension there. Again, it's not really official yet, but I guess according to the agent, I guess he leaked it out there that Major League Baseball will, back off the 1-game suspension there. And again, that's after he took to social media there in the Tampa series, a low call, third strike there, which he was upset with. He argued with the umpire, got tossed out of the game. Of course, went to social media and said the ball was effing low there. And of course, obviously you can't do that, and not just because of the vulgarity, but Major League Baseball said, players can't be tweeting or using social media or being online during an actual game there, which kind of makes sense. But again, Jazz's point was, once I'm kicked out of the game, I'm no longer a player for this game, so then technically they're free to talk about the game there, so it's kind of a little bit of gray area. Man, yeah, you're not a player kicked out of the game, but you're all part of the Yankee personnel and part of the game there, so it was a weird thing there, but eventually Jazz did appeal the suspension, and it looks like, again, according to Jazz's agent there, they worked something out where he will avoid the 1-game suspension. Now, it looks like he might have to pay a $5,000 fine, which obviously a baseball player, that's chump change nevertheless. But again, the Yankees won't lose his bat for a game there. And again, it's just overall, obviously it's tough for athletes these days because, they're all young guys and there's all like us who want to use social media and interact, stuff like that. But really, it's got a bad idea there. So hopefully Boone and Cashman had a talk with him and really the whole team there that if you get a situation like that, just keep your mouth shut. Now, last episode, we talked about a couple of players that are performing, underperforming, say, in terms of their batting average. Of course, Jazz was having some issues there, as well as Anthony Volpe. But, of course, Cody Bellinger is probably the worst and the most disappointing at this point there. Again, not to a point where I say you push the alarm button there, but, again, still hitting well under 200. But I guess his only saving grace that he's been making a couple of good plays in the field, even a couple to even close out games there. So I guess that's been his kind of saving grace. But to sort of make up for that, he's still really getting this really surprise season from Trent Grisham Jr. right now. And even taking some time away to be from the Yankees on a paternity leave there, but still come back and still raking there. So even as much as you're disappointed with Bellinger there, you really weren't expecting to get from Grisham there. So maybe the two of them sort of balance out there. And if you want to look at this Grisham's lines right now, again, quite impressive. Batting .306, so hitting over 300, 7 home runs, 19 hits with 14 RBIs, and that's in 23 games there. And again, if you remember with Grisham, he was sort of a throw-in with the Soto deal last year. It was just sort of like, he was just kind of a toss-in. You didn't think about him. Did not have a good season for the Yankees last year. Remember, it was kind of miserable. And if you want to look at 2024, batted 190, so he actually hit under 200 last season and only had 34 hits. So if you look right now, he has 19 hits right now. Last year, all of last year, he has 34. So right now, in 1 month, he basically has half of all he did last season. And again, last season, playing time was very sporadic there, and kind of Boone mentioned in spring training that they wanted to get him some more regular at-bats, something they weren't really able to do last season for a whole bevy of different reasons there. But Trent Grisham getting a lot of playing time, again, due to some poor performance not only by Bellinger, but also Bellinger being hurt a little bit. Of course, he had the food poisoning in Detroit, also had to deal with the bulky, his back issue a little bit as well, so that's kind of opened the door for Grisham to shine there, and he's been shining there. Now, of course, Juan Soto, we've gotten over it, and I know last episode we compared him to Ben Rice there, and we look at Ben Rice, who's making relative peanuts, the league minimum there, actually doing better than Juan Soto. I really haven't checked, and again, it's only been 1 week, but I figure let's just look in on Juan Soto. We care about him, want to see what he's doing right now. So as of right now, Juan Soto, 27 games in, so that's 4 games less than Trent Grisham. So I figured let's compare the two, since they were both involved in the trade when the Yankees bought both of them over at the start of last season there. So Soto, he's got his batting average up to 257. So I think last week was 250, so he's gone from 250 to 257. So it's a little improvement over a week, okay. He's still stuck on the same 3 home runs right now that he was last week there, so no improvement there. And of course, the measly 12 RBIs there. So, for $54 million, compared to what the Yankees are paying, $5 million for Trent Grisham there, I think the Yankees get a little bit more bang for the buck there. Now, I would say the one good thing about Soto, though, he's been spraying the ball, getting hits there. So he has 27 hits, so he has 8 more hits compared to Trent Grisham there. But again, Juan Soto's played in 4 more games there. So Soto's been getting the hits there, he's been getting the singles there, but not exactly the long ball, not exactly crushing it there in Queens there. I think at the end of the day, he'll be fine there. But of course, we know all the comments he made there about, not being in the Yankee lineup and not having a bit of a difference there. Well, I could have told you that there. So again, but we're going to wish Soto success. We want to keep rolling along there. But again, Yankees, right now getting a bargain with Trent Grisham. And we should congratulate J.C. Escara hitting his first major league home run at the age of 29 there. Of course, we know him. He's the feel-good story, the former Uber driver who kind of, paid his dues there in the minors and independent league, finally getting shot by the Yankees, obviously winning the backup catcher in spring training by having his impressive spring. And in the day night, I guess that was the nightcap of the Toronto series there, hitting his first major league home run. Again, a great moment for him. Again, 29-year-old rookie, waited a long time for this and finally got that off his schneid there. So, for Escara, has it been a great season overall right now, numbers-wise? No, I mean, he hasn't gotten a ton of playing time. Obviously, that's maybe because Austin Wells overall has been doing good. So again, if you see some Escara, that means either Wells is not doing good or getting hurt there. So in a way, you don't see Escara. Maybe that's good news for the Yankees. That means that Wells is doing well there. So, but if Escara itself, you just want to look at him right now. Again, not getting a ton of playing time in 9 games. Only 25 at-bats, hitting 200 there, again, but again, a backup catcher is more or less what you can expect there. Has the 1 home run and 3 RBIs there. So, again, for the backup catcher, though, you're not really relying on the offense there. Obviously, you want your Wells as your go-to. Again, only negative I would say about him is that he's a left-handed hitter, and Wells is a left-handed hitter, so if you're looking for matchups against opposing pitcher there, he doesn't really offer you that much. And again, the Yankees' sort of third backup catcher would be Ben Rice, so we saw a little of that in spring training there, but again, he's also a left-handed batter, so if there's a matchup situation or a substitute situation with them, the Yankees don't have any options there. They have to go with a lefty. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you do your homework. You got to subscribe to the audio podcast version of the show, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Get my frequent takes so you don't have to wait to see me. I know you want to see me, but make sure you subscribe to the audio version of the show. And if you have to be watching on YouTube or TV, go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.